Good afternoon to our guest of the day, Mr. Gaurang Bhatt, General Manager Strategy at Haldiram's Ethnic Foods Private Limited, to our respected Director Ma'am, Professor Neeta Awasthy, Registrar, all head of the department, faculty members, staff, and dear students. When life knocks you down, roll over and gaze at the stars in the sky. This gives you the spirit of being an entrepreneur. And that is how we stay hungry for innovation and positivism in business. Peter F. Drucker has rightly said, innovation is the specific instrument of entrepreneurship, the act that endows resources with a new capacity to create wealth. Catching these roots of Drucker under the umbrella of IIC, Institute Innovation Cell, the Department of Management Studies, under the able guidance of our Director Ma'am, Professor Neeta Awasthy, has organized a workshop on entrepreneurship and innovation. We have with us a guest for the day, Mr. Gaurang Bhatt, General Manager Strategy at Haldiram's Ethnic Food Private Limited, who will give us the insights about innovation and entrepreneurship with the focus mainly on imparting the foundations of entrepreneurship to the vibrant youth. The workshop has been aimed to create an awareness on entrepreneurship amongst our students of BTech and MBA, to convey the need for innovation and risk bearing in today's business world for survival and growth, and to educate the young minds on success and failures of entrepreneurship. Before starting our session, I would like to request our Director Ma'am to say a few words about the session and welcome our guest. Ma'am.
I would only like to say to Mr. Bhatt, thank you so much for coming and joining us. And I was always wondering how Haldiram has been keeping afloat and excelling into packaging, excelling into preservatives that they use, that the delicacies last so long and fresh. And today I think we'll all know about the strategy behind, from none other, from the horse's mouth, and that is Mr. Gaurang Bhatt. Welcome. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I really appreciate and I really am filled with gratitude that you gave me this opportunity to be amongst all of you. And I was just interacting with a couple of members of the family, and when I got an invitation from Dr. Nakshatresh around, talking about the subject of entrepreneurship, I think what best I can discuss other than the fact that I'm going to talk about Haldiram's a bit, right? And Haldiram is a brand, an Indian brand, who has grown from a family business, and it is one of the brand which is being talked about in not only in the Indian market, across the globe now, right? For the practices that we have established. And I will just touch a little bit and then we'll go directly into the session. Haldiram is a family-grown business from Bikaner. We started our, informal setup in Bikaner in 1937. It was a small shop of namkeens and bhujia. And the gentleman who started this business was called as Haldia, right? His skin tone of color was a little, matching to the turmeric color, so he was called as Haldia. And then it later got turned to, Haldiram. So the business, when it started in Delhi, we started with a very small sweet shop in Chandni Chowk. And that was the first shop when we started a business. From there on, we kept going, and then we started our first restaurant operations in Mathura Road, which was, I think, around 1992, we started our business there. And since then, it has never been looking back, What has worked for Haldiram? I have been with Haldiram's for 6 years, and prior to Haldiram's, my journey, I had a long journey with McDonald's. I was with McDonald's for about 12 years, right? And I was one of the team member who actually was part of the initial team of McDonald's getting launched in the market. So 2012, I joined Haldiram's, and then I was on sabbatical for about 3 years. I took a break. I did certain personal assignments, and then I came back and joined them in 2018 again. And now I'm here with them again, and we are into an expansion mode with a restaurant touching 99. And I got the session postponed yesterday through Dr. Nakshatresh because I was busy in opening the 99th outlet, and so we were going to touch the century. So that's where we stand today when I talk about Haldiram's. I will say that the session that we want to talk today about the entrepreneurship, I have seen a clear reflection as a behavior in the practices of the leadership who has actually been the driving force of this brand. Our promoters, they really carry an entrepreneurial mindset. Now, when I say this, I mean to say that they have been very, very open about accepting the ideas. They have not been very, very closed in their mindsets in terms of trying out, right? And they are very, very ready to accept the failures, whether it is about a product launch, whether it is about a marketing strategy that needs to be launched on the market. They're very, very open. They don't shy off in failing, and that's what which has actually kept the success going on. And I don't know if you have had a chance to visit any of our outlets recently. In case not, please be our guest at Haldiram. It's really a pleasure for me to serve all of you over there. I'm sure you will feel and you will experience that Haldiram's outlets are state of the art outlets. You compare with any of the brand in the market, with any multinational company, you will find them either at par or maybe at an upper edge from what we have coming in as best practices from the world. I'll just quickly answer the question that you have asked, ma'am. How we ensure the longevity of the products and the freshness, right? So we have a complete process, and to your surprise, let me tell you that we don't add preservatives into our food, right? So you can trust our food completely. It is without preservatives, right? There are many methods through which we ensure that the shelf life of the product is being enhanced. So the food, the restaurant food that you have in our outlet is primarily the moment it is being cooked, it is being blast chilled immediately, right? So the food deterioration can only happen when it is being exposed to an ambient environment. The moment you blast chill them, and we are now transiting to the blast frozen methodology also, because we are opening our outlets to as far as Pathankot. We have just opened our outlet in Amritsar also. So in order to ensure that we have a consistent supply chain and we are able to cater the same quality to our consumers across the country, and once we move across the globe, we are consistently working in terms of strengthening our supply chain. But at the same point of time, we are making sure that the taste that you get at a Chandni Chowk shop, which we opened first, or let's say tomorrow we touch the fronts of Mathura also, it has to be a consistent taste for everybody. All right. So I think that has been the winning factor for our brand, and that's the loyalty the brand has been able to build amongst the customers over a period of years. So that's on Haldiram. I will take any other specific questions related to Haldirams at the last of this session, and it will be a pleasure for me to answer all your queries about the brand, right?
Okay.
So with this, I'm just going to share my screen and we'll go straight away to the discussion today. And before I start this session, I'll be very, very open and honest that since I'm not from the academic community, my session is not going to be very, very academically oriented, right? I'm not going to talk.
Sir, this session is also not for the academic purpose, it's for the entrepreneurship
So,
and students.
Yeah, it is a workshop. That is why we have named it as a workshop rather than a lecture session.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a lecture session.
Yes.
I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to quote a lot of things about what the great people have said, but I will try to share my perspective around entrepreneurship and innovation. I'm going to share certain analogies that how people can really connect and how I can build that atmosphere where people can actually absorb the idea behind entrepreneurship. So that is what which you're going to feel during the whole workshop. Let me just connect my presentation and then we will go ahead with this. Please help me know, Dr. Kaushik, is my screen visible?
Yes, your screen is visible. Please make it on a full screen, a presentation.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, it is there now.
All right. So the session today is going to be about, as Dr. Kaushik has just said, it's going to be about innovation and entrepreneurship, right? She quoted some words from Peter Drucker. I am just going to add on to what she just said in a very, very small expression, and the keywords I'm going to pick up from this definition, where he says that it is a hunger where the person who carries a mindset of entrepreneurship, he or she searches for a change. This is a very powerful word in this whole definition of entrepreneurship, where the person has a hunger for change and simultaneously they respond to that change and tries and exploit that as an opportunity. And what is more important, first of all, we need to really, really understand that how this whole concept of entrepreneurship has evolved over a period of time, right? So until the globalization happened almost 25 years back into our nation, we had very, very traditional practices which were being followed into the market, which were being carried on from ages. But as globalization happened across the market in our country, we realized, and there has been a lot of change in the approach in the academic institutes, the professional arena, and people have really started looking for how they can actually add value to the current practices, how they can actually add value by ensuring that whatever they are driving as a profession, as a business, can largely help create a responsible society, right? So to have an entrepreneurial mindset, I think personally what is more important, that are you really focused in terms of creating a large vision where you know that your practices, the whole project, the whole vision that you have around your idea, how at large it is going to get some benefit for the society. And before we start, do a little deep diving into the session, let me just set the pace by sharing a small video, which will help us to delve deep into the session. So before we do that, here's a picture on your screen, and you see a gentleman standing here. Now, this image practically tells us that there is a phase in everyone's life, wherein you actually go through a lot of ideas coming across your mind, and you are not very decisive about what actually you want to do in your life. आपको लगता है कि भाई मेरे पास बहुत सारे आइडियाज हैं, सारे आइडियाज बहुत अच्छे हैं, मैं बहुत अच्छा कर सकता हूँ, और आपके लिए पिक करना बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है कि मुझे एक्चुअली क्या करना चाहिए, एंड हाउ कैन आई एक्चुअली मेक द डिफरेंस टू my life and to the lives of people who are around me. So this picture actually is depicting the same thing. A person who is very thoughtful, there are 1,000 ideas in his mind, and he's actually thinking what is the way ahead. So when I talk about that, what is entrepreneurship? To me, entrepreneurship is a mindset. It's a behavior. And when I say this, it simply means that if you have certain key characters which are the driving force of your life, you can actually see whether you are an entrepreneur or whether you are actually a person who's a trendsetter, or you are a person who actually believes in just following the rules, right? So when I say that it is a mindset, it is about not being orthodox. It is about creating new rules. Now, this is also being misunderstood by people a lot of time when they think that if I'm actually going against the set norms, then I'm having an entrepreneurial mindset. That's not the idea here. The idea here is that whatever you are trying to bring a change has to be very value driven. And when I say this, it is to be value driven. You have to ensure that the end consumer who is actually going to experience the whole business model, whether he will see value to it. So you will see that in the last 20-25 years, convenience has largely taken over in practically all the industry, wherein it was a direct connect of the consumer to the business model. 20 years back, either you talk about a retail market, or you talk about a cinema, or you talk about sports. I mean, your physical presence was a must, right? And there were many, many challenges. It was expensive, and technology has taken over, and it has really made life easy for people. And on just click of a button, you can actually have an accessibility across the globe. And thanks to technology, that's the reason that today you are sitting almost 150 kilometers away from me, and we are able to connect. And as good as if we are meeting personally, right? So I think people who contributed largely to all these aspects all were carrying that entrepreneurial mindset, because of which this convenience has fallen into the place of humanity. And before we go ahead, let me just take you through a small video, and then we'll go further.
Sound is missing.
There's not a single
Can you hear
person
it?
on this planet
Yes.
who haven't heard of Starbucks.
Is it audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm going to play it again. Thank you.
World's biggest coffee house company. But did you know that the former CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, was born and raised in poverty, barely making ends meet? And when things got really tough, he even had to sell his blood a couple of times. This is the success story of Howard Schultz, how he went from living in poverty and struggling for money to survive to transforming Starbucks into a $100 billion company. And he was just a young boy who never stopped dreaming. And here is why you shouldn't stop too. He was born in a very poor family. He spent his childhood living in a small one-bedroom apartment from a public housing project. His father was an army vet and a truck driver and spent most of his life working low-paid jobs. When Howard was only 7 years old, while delivering diapers, his father fell on the ice and broke his leg. And because of this, he was fired from his job, and with no medical insurance and no savings, his family was struggling for money. That image of his father laying on the couch, feeling hopeless, crushed and defeated, left a permanent mark in his memory. It was one of the biggest defining moments in Howard's life, and to get away from all of these problems, he used to sit on the staircase in his building, dreaming of a better life. He played football in high school and earned an athletic scholarship to go to college, but he didn't want to play sports and decided to major in communications. So to pay for college, he had to take student loans and worked many odd jobs to make ends meet. Few times he even had to sell his blood for money to survive. After graduating from college, Howard worked at a ski lodge and as a salesman, but he had a desire to work at Starbucks. At that time, Starbucks had 3 owners and only sold coffee beans. So at the age of 29, after a full year of convincing the owners to hire him, he finally got a job at Starbucks. While on a business trip to Italy, he walked into an Italian coffee shop and he was fascinated by his experience while drinking coffee. He was amazed by the fact that the owners of the coffee shops actually knew their customers and they even called them by their names while serving them coffee. Excited, he traveled back to the US trying to convince the Starbucks owners to accept these incredible new ideas, but the owners rejected him. So Howard quit Starbucks and went on to create his own coffee company called Il Giornale. But he had no money to fund this company. In the course of the year I spent trying to raise money, I spoke to 242 people and 217 of them said no. Try to imagine how disheartening it can be to hear that many times why your idea is not worth investing in. It was a very humbling time. But eventually, enough people believed in his vision and decided to invest in his business. He worked extremely hard to open his first coffee shop where he could replicate the experience he had in Italy and finally implement his ideas. After a few years, Starbucks went bankrupt and Howard bought the company and became CEO of Starbucks. He rebranded his company with the Starbucks name and expanded across the United States. Today, Starbucks has more than 30,000 stores around the world and market value over $100 billion. And Howard has an advice for you. In life, you can blame a lot of people and you can wallow in self-pity, or you can pick yourself up and say, listen, I have to be responsible for myself. I believe life is a series of near misses. A lot of what we ascribe to luck is not luck at all. It's seizing the day and accepting responsibility for your future. It's seeing what other people don't see and pursuing that vision. I feel so strongly that the reason I'm here is I dreamed big dreams. I dreamed the kind of dreams that other people said would not be possible. I cannot offer you any specific secret recipe for success, the perfect plan, how to reach the pinnacle of success in the business. But my own experience suggests that starting from scratch and achieving much more than what I dream about is quite possible. But if you wait for the perfect conditions, you'll never get anything done. But the good thing is, you can make a decision and take control now. Remember something. A year from now, you may wish you had started today. So, what's your story?
So, I think I've taken this example of Starbucks so that I can connect it little to the story of Haldiram's also, and to many of us who have actually initiated this journey sometime in our career, right? Either we are into the business world or we're into the professional world. What really makes you an entrepreneur is about not giving up. What really makes you an entrepreneur is about dreaming big. What makes you an entrepreneur is about believing in what you have envisioned. What makes you an entrepreneur is about consistently trying around your ideas. What makes you an entrepreneur is about ensuring that you are able to drive your team around the vision that you have created. So, I can just connect a little event from Haldiram's. I was being told by one of my promoter that when they started their operations of the sweet shop as Haldiram Bhujia Wala in Chandni Chowk, at that point in time there was a sweet shop called Ghante Wala, right? And they were very, very famous in Delhi, and they were really being looked upon by the consumers at the point in time. And the business model was not having any newness. Right, there were many sweet shops जो हलवाई आपके शहर में बहुत सारे थे, घंटे वाला उसमें से बहुत famous था. So they were constantly thinking that how they can actually bring in that change, how they can actually add value in this whole business model. And that's where the chairman of the company, Mr. Manohar Lal Agrawal, they realized that मिठाई तो सभी बेच रहे हैं. आज अगर कंज्यूमर को मिठाई चाहिए तो सभी बेचते हैं, बट हम ऐसा क्या कर रहे हैं डिफरेंट उनके लिए so that we are able to add some value. And that's where they started focusing on very, very small things into the Haldiram business. And what they did was they started creating these sweets with lot of diligence. तो आप में बहुत सारे हमारे ऐसे हीरो प्रोडक्ट्स हैं हल्दीराम में, चाहे हम काजू कतली की बात करें, चाहे हम सोन पापड़ी की बात करें, या हम भुजिया की बात करें, या छोटी वाली जलेबी की बात करें. These are all trend setting products at Haldiram's. उन्होंने प्रोडक्ट में वैल्यू क्रिएट किया, उसकी शेप को लेके, स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन को लेकर के. शायद आप में से बहुत लोग नहीं जानते होंगे, और मेरे लिए भी इट वाज अ सरप्राइज व्हेन आई जॉइंड हल्दीराम्स, कि एक एक समोसे का वेट, क्या आपको लगता है कि कोई हलवाई देखता होगा? जी हाँ, देखते हैं हल्दीराम में. उस समोसे को बनाने के पीछे आप जब मैदा का एक रोल बनाते हैं उस समोसे को बनाने के लिए, उसका क्या वेट होगा, उसकी एसओपी क्या होगी, एवरीथिंग इज डिफाइंड हियर एट हल्दीराम्स. Though it is not a very big strategy, but then these small things actually helped Haldiram to create that differentiation into the market, because of which they were actually able to meet the customer expectation. And the second biggest thing which the brand did was they realized that the Indian market is not very, very good. They're not very, very focused about the hygiene and the food safety aspect. And that's where they started building in restaurants which were bigger, which were cleaner, which were sufficiently staffed. And apart from focusing on the food quality, they actually started focusing upon the overall experience of the guest. And what actually has made Haldiram today the brand is that if you visit a Haldiram restaurant, the quality of food that you get is coming to you at a price which is very, very affordable for any consumer. The experience that you get at a Haldiram restaurant is at par with any five-star property. And you talk about the product, you talk about the ambience of the restaurant, and that's what which has actually created a loyalty into the mind of the consumer. So a very small initiative, but then identifying these small changes from the existing process can only happen when the person, the individual, carries an entrepreneurial mindset. So normally people think that I have to do something out of the world. We normally get trapped in good words like out of the box thinking. Out of the box thinking is not about creating something which world has not experienced. I mean, if that can come, if that can happen, it's great. But there's a lot of scope in terms of improving, in terms of enhancing the existing practices in any business model. Like you people are in education, I'm sure you would have been running your own curriculums the way it has been defined by a university, right? Now, that's the way I look at it, that how we can actually add value to the education of our students. I mean, this one exercise that you are actually getting conducted for all your people, getting the workshop organized by the industry experts is a value addition, because we're not going to talk the curriculum. We're just going to connect you with the real world. When a student passes on from his college, from his institute, and actually he comes into the real world, if an education hub, if an educational institute can really add value to the education by making it a on-hands training for that person, by actually exposing him to that environment which he or she is really going to witness once he passes the college, is a value addition by any education institution. There are many, many practices which can be done. I'm sure after the workshop, if time permits, we can always talk around it. But I think that is an entrepreneur mindset. Going on to the next content, I mean, there are 10 listed behaviors. We're just going to talk about it one by one, and I will just try to connect them with what exactly it means when we talk about all these 10 behaviors, which actually helps you to build an entrepreneurial mindset and how your journey as an entrepreneur goes about it. So when we talk about vision, vision is something which a person, after, I showed you the first picture where there's a person standing and he's thinking, there are a lot of ideas going on. When you're able to come at a position of rest and you can actually identify that this particular thing is there in my life, which is really going to be my purpose of life. This is what something which I can do endlessly without stopping. Any effort which can add value to the community and you are not being pushed. हम सबने देखा है अपने बचपन से कि कहीं ना कहीं हमारी जर्नी जब शुरू होती है, हमारे माता पिता, फिर हमारे टीचर्स, फिर हमारे प्रोफेसर्स और फिर हमारे बॉसेस इन दी प्रोफेसर, अगर आपके जीवन में ऐसा बहुत कुछ होता है जहाँ पे लोग आपको किसी चीज के लिए पुश करते हैं, इट कैन बी as small as a habit of waking up early in the morning, or it can be as easy about studying or engaging yourself in something constructive. If you see as an individual, if you experience that people are pushing you for it, then that is the time you can understand that that is not something which you are passionate about. You are just doing it as a societal orientation, I would say, because people want you to do that. And if you carry on with that behavior with you in whatever ways in your life, trust me, you can only contribute limited. And when I say limited, it simply means कि भाई आप सुबह उठेंगे और सुबह उठ करके आप किसी पर्टिकुलर एंगेजमेंट के लिए, चाहे वो आपका जॉब हो, चाहे वो आपका बिजनेस हो, वो आप सिर्फ इसलिए करेंगे कि यू हैव टू रन दी शो, यू हैव टू रन दी शो, यू हैव टू रन योर फैमिली, यू हैव टू मीट देयर नीड्स, but that is not something which is actually going to help you create an entrepreneurial mindset. And I think the whole education that we take, मैं इसको बहुत ही अपनी ज्यादातर ऐसे सेशंस में बोलता हूँ कि हम हिंदुस्तानियों के घर में शायद ही कोई ऐसा घर होगा जहाँ पे ये आरती उसने ना सुनी हो कि ओम जय जगदीश हरे, हम आरती करते हैं, उसमें एक लाइन आती है बड़ी पावरफुल है, तेरा तुझको अर्पण क्या लागे मेरा, राइट? It is a very powerful line. When I say this, it really creates goosebumps. Whatever we get from nature, whatever we get into our studies as an education through a structured program, at the end, for what? For what are we doing all this? Do we really ask this question every day before we go to bed? I think if we are not asking, this is the first and the last question that we should be asking once the day ends. How have I contributed to the society from where I have gathered so much in many, many ways? If we are not doing that, I think we are not really practicing how to create an entrepreneur mindset. If you are just waking up, you're going to bed and you're just doing things to meet your needs, I think you're not actually stepping into the direction of creating an entrepreneur mindset. So, I mean, what I'm saying, you can connect with what is there on the slide. Work for a cause, not for applause. And trust me, over a period of last 25 years that I've been into the industry, and I have experienced right from this scratch when I started my journey at McDonald's, I saw that people, they were largely focused on impressing the people around, either their peers or their juniors or their seniors. हर एक को बस ये लगता है कि at the end of year, once my performance appraisal is going to happen, how much I'm going to get. I think that's a very, very limited approach. Idea is not about impressing people, right? Idea is about expressing, to reflect what we have gained from the planet, what we have actually taken from the planet in terms of learnings, how we are contributing it back to the society. And when I say contributing it back to the society, largely, I mean, जरूरी नहीं है कि आप किसी बड़े मन से किसी चीज को करें, आप बहुत छोटी छोटी प्रैक्टिसेस जिस जगह हैं. बहुत बार मैं देखता हूं कि जो लोग जॉब में होते हैं वो कई बार ऐसा फील करते हैं कि जॉब में शायद उतना फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन नहीं होता है और वहां पे आपके लिए एक एंटरप्रेन्योर माइंडसेट क्रिएट करना बड़ा मुश्किल है. तो वहां पे मैं ये बोलूंगा कि देखिए, आप जिस रोल में हैं, जिस जगह हैं, वहां पे आप कैसे कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं बाय गिविंग बैक टू द नेचर विद द पीपल whom you are around is something that you can look upon. अगर आप लेट्स से मैं बात करूंगा इन द कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ कॉलेज, इफ यू आर अ फंक्शनल हेड फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर फंक्शन, see that apart from the curriculum, what is that which you can actually add as a value to your students. You can take them for a lot of excursions, take them into the real-time industry experience. So, I mean, there are multiple ways how you can add value. And whatever else we expect in a life, either it is papers, either it is an incentive, either it is about, earning good wealth. तो मैं बोलता हूँ कि ये तो, this is an outcome. It will eventually happen. उसके लिए हमें अलग से कुछ प्रयास करने की जरूरत नहीं है. जैसे वो 3 Idiot मूवी में आमिर खान बोलता है कि भाई आप काबिलियत पे फोकस करो, कामयाबी तो झक मार के आपके पीछे. I am completely into agreement with the statement. I think that is an entrepreneurial mindset. It is not about keeping our focus or vision limited to the outcome of what we are doing, but it is about how we have to contribute to the society. And for that, what is more important? I have, what you can see on the screen, it talks about 3 P's, passion. Now, I'll not talk about the definition of passion, but I'd say, as I told you at the start, any action which you can sustain consistently, enjoyably, it means that that particular action is a passion for you. It can be anything. It can be anything. I mean, it can be as small as making, clay pots. मुझे याद है, I can refer it to my own experience from my childhood when my father used to say कि भाई तुम पढ़ लो, अगर नहीं पढ़ोगे तो फिर धकेल लगाओगे. And I normally used to respond back to him कि भाई धकेल लगा लेंगे, कोई problem. But then I'm going to make sure कि मेरी धकेल is really, really different and I can attract all the consumers to my dhakeel. So it can be as simple, as small as we can think. But then what we are doing, actually are we enjoying it, or we are just doing it for the sake of it? Is something which actually helps us to understand as an individual whether we are passionate about that thing. Any relationship that you do. I normally talk in my seminars to people that, you know, I see that a lot of people, once they get married, and I have a friend circle, and you see that there are a lot of jokes on husbands and wife, right? And I wonder that you entered into a relationship which is a committed relationship, how you can make a mockery of it. I mean, for humor it is okay, but then were you really, really clear about that? What is that relationship that you're taking about? And if not, I think you have just entered into the relationship for the sake of it, and hence you're not very, very passionate about it. I also got married. I have a wife, I have a daughter, and I'm very, very passionate about my relationships with them. I think with each building year, I'm only getting my relationship more strengthened. So passion, if you're not carrying in your relationship, either it is your personal life, it is your professional life, trust me, that relationship cannot be sustainable. And if it is not a sustainable relationship, your actions are not going to be persistent. And you will not be able to drive them with perseverance, right? So when we say perseverance, it is, so normally people say, कि, I will not give up, I will not give up. It is not about I will not give up. It is about understanding कि आपने जो प्रयास किया, उस प्रयास को क्या कुछ हम differently कर सकते हैं? It is not about knocking your head against the wall. वो नहीं करने. आपको करना ये है कि हमने कुछ action try किया. अगर वो workout नहीं हुआ, it is okay. Let us see what is not working out in that action. And then we have to see that how we can do a slight tweaking into our action, and that which will help us to achieve what we actually want. और शायद जब हम वो करने की कला जान जाते हैं कि हमें उसे डिफरेंटली कैसे करना है, तो हमारे एक्शंस में परसिस्टेंस भी आ जाती है. और जैसा कि अब हम देख रहे थे स्टारबक्स वाले उसमें भी कि भाई समय हम सबके पास बहुत लिमिटेड है. वी हैव वेरी, वेरी लिमिटेड पीरियड. तो हम ये भी वेट नहीं कर सकते कि भाई जब सारी परिस्थितियां ठीक हो जाएंगी, सब कुछ वंडरफुल हो जाएगा, मेरे पास अपना पैसा होगा बिजनेस स्टार्ट करने के लिए, एंड व्हेन आई विल हैव पीपल टू सपोर्ट, व्हेन पीपल आर गोइंग टू बाय माय आइडिया. नो, आई थिंक दैट इज नॉट समथिंग व्हिच इज गोइंग टू हेल्प अस. We have to start, right? We have to initiate our action. But before initiating an action, yes, it is very, very important that we're very, very clear that what is that which I really want to bring a difference into the lives of people. I need to be very, very clear about my vision. That is something which is going to be very, very important. And obviously, it is very, very important, and I consider this at 4P. The fourth P is patience. And it says that your patience is not about just waiting. Because when you wait, and if you do not carry a character of adding value, तो होगा क्या कि जब आप वेट कर रहे हैं तो आपके वेट करने में कहीं ना कहीं कुछ फ्रस्ट्रेशन होगी, कुछ एजिटेशन होगी कि मैं चाहता तो ऐसा हूं बट ऐसा हो नहीं रहा है. That is not patience, because your focus is completely towards the end result. कि जो मैं चाहता हूं क्यों नहीं हो रहा है. पर जब आप पैशन के साथ उस काम को करते हैं और आपको ये पता है कि होगा, it will happen, it is going to happen because my intentions are clear, I know what I have to do, I have been planning my actions and I am doing them with full clarity, then I'm sure you'll be able to nurture also, and you'll be able to carry the behavior of patience within you, right? And I'm sure if you're able to drive your action with a lot of patience, then the fruits that you're going to bear will be sustainable for sure. And that is something which you will cherish for your life, because your initial needs when you start a project and when you're young, you're largely influenced by the society on the outcomes. मैं आज कोई प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ, उससे ये पैसा कमाऊंगा, people will know, I'll have good name, I'll have good fame. But this is an initial crush. Trust me. Once you're able to achieve all this, then you start losing the charm of earning a lot of money. And if you will see, and if you will go through the autobiographies of all the people around the world who have been able to, build a lot of wealth, either you talk about Bill Gates, you talk about Ratan Tata, I'm sure all of you must be knowing that 90% of the times, the Tata, they are actually contributing their funds to charity. Bill Gates, you talk about Google, you talk about any big company, their funds are going to charity. Why? Because they want to add value to the society. So I think patience is something which is very, very difficult. I can. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Kaushik? Am I audible, Dr. Kaushik?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
I was
yes, sir.
talking
Yes,
about
sir. Yes.
patience. So I think maybe I have not missed on the network. So patience is a practice in trust, as I just told you, that if you trust your instincts and you know what you are contributing for, what you have to achieve, patience is an outcome. Now, during the journey of being an entrepreneur, you'll come across a lot of suggestions from people, and the belief that you carry with yourself has come through a vision. Understand the vision that you carry with you is not being carried out by other people. People will joke around. People are going to say nasty things. People are going to say, no, it's not going to happen. This is not possible. You will not be able to do it. And they're largely going to cite a lot of examples from the society who had been failures and who gave up. And that is one very, very important thing which most of us actually do. When people come and say, in order to validate their suggestions, they come up with a lot of examples. कि पहले भी ऐसा बहुत लोगों ने करा है, आप देखो ऐसा हो गया, वो सक्सेसफुल नहीं हुआ, तो आपको क्या लगता है आप कैसे हो गए? And largely, trust me, these are people who are your near and dear ones. They sow the seed of insecurity in you to take out those decisions to really drive this behavior of entrepreneurship in you. They are the first one who show the distrust in you, and that is the time where this particular opinion of that what matters in your life is your own opinion about yourself. If you are convicted of what you exactly want to do, if you know how you want to do it, how you want to drive it, trust me, nothing is there which can stop you. And that is how you actually build your self-confidence. When you know what strengths you carry, you know that you are clear about your strengths and you have a very, very strong image about yourself. You know that you have to achieve the vision. And I can correlate it with, जैसे वो हमारे बड़ी फेमस माइथोलॉजी में हम महाभारत से वो कोट करते हैं कि भाई अर्जुन को जो है सिर्फ चिड़िया की आंख दिखाई दे रही थी, बाकी सबको तो पेड़ भी दिखाई दे रहा था, किसी को गुरुदेव दिखाई दे रहे थे. There were many, many things because they did not had a vision. Arjun had a vision. He wanted to be the best archer in the world at that point in time. And that's the goal he has set for himself. And that's where he took a lot of risk, right? So all this actually helps you to build self-confidence. When you have a positive image about yourself, you are not worried about what others are saying about you. You have set a clear goal. You're willing to take risk. And trust me, these risks are not in the dark. These are all well-calculated risks. A person who has a vision, who knows how to plan, he knows the potential threats that can really encounter his way when he's going to start his journey. And when you are able to achieve something sustainable, what you do with your self-confidence is that you help others. And when this whole journey is happening as an individual also, what is happening to that individual? He or she is actually becoming very, very resilient in his or her character. And how this is happening? Because all this while, one thing which was constantly happening to this individual is learning, which normally in the society people say that it is failing. No, let me correct. It is not failing. It is learning. And you become so flexible to encounter, to receive whatever is coming to you. What the larger chunk of world sees as challenges, this individual sees them as an opportunity. And hence he or she becomes very, very adaptable. और तब फिर वो हर चीज के लिए तैयार होता है, इतना लचीलापन उसके अंदर होता है जिसको हम रिजिलिएंट बोलते हैं, कि उसे पता है कि आप उसको प्रॉब्लम बोलो, उसके दिमाग को सुनाई देता है सोल्यूशन. यू टेल हिम इट्स अ प्रॉब्लम, ही विल से ओके दिस इज द सोल्यूशन. If you see that there are people who carry a habit of cribbing, who always tell that no, I want to do, but I'm not able to do because of this, I'm not able to do because of this, trust me, that person has not started his or her journey to be an entrepreneur in his or her life. And more importantly, entrepreneurship is not only about your profession, let me tell you. It is about your whole life. You don't live a different life in your job, in your family. You are the same man. You are the same woman. It's only different roles that you play in your life. An entrepreneurial mindset you have to carry everywhere, when you're dealing your child, when you're dealing with your parents. Everywhere you can add value to any kind of system, whether it is a family system, whether it is a professional world, you can do that. Another important characteristic which actually highlights the entrepreneurial mindset is about breaking the rules. And when I say this is not about being indisciplined, let me be very, very clear about it. This is not about going against the society. When we talk about breaking the rules, it is about creating a differentiation, in your approach, how you can do it differently, and how that differentiation is actually going to help the larger chunk of people, doing it very, very differently. So if you will see whatever innovations have happened in the past, I mean, you talk about any, new age entrepreneur from our country, you talk about Ritesh Agrawal from Oyo. What has he done? पैसा नहीं था, नए होटल नहीं बनाए, same properties. People who had money, they built that empire, itne sare hotel banaye, but they were not able to innovate around, how to create convenience into the life of people who were roaming from one place to another. It was just an observation. He created a platform, a convenience platform, and it converted into one of the hotel's giant. We all know. Or you talk about any other entrepreneur. I'm going to share one video of a guy who is, 16 years old, the Oyo owner. He has not created anything very, very different. Taxis were running in India before Oyo also it was happening. What he did, he just added value by ensuring that, all the vehicles are equipped with GPS. The drivers are, you can locate them, you can plan your journeys, they're conveniently available and accessible at your place. छोटी छोटी चीजों से ही उन्होंने इतना बड़ा मॉडल क्रिएट कर दिया. And I call this at breaking the rules. I call this as all is well theory. If you know that whatever challenges are coming, whatever people or the world around you is seeing as a challenge, is seeing as an I am not possible वाला चीज अगर आपको समाज से मिल रहा है, I think the counter of that particular environment is all is well theory. I call it all is well theory. If you can experience that whatever happens, at the end of the day, you have a solution to it. Most of the solutions in our life don't come because we give it up at that point in time. So my suggestion is that if you encounter anything in your life, you think, no, this is not well, ye to chalta nahi hai, aisa hota nahi hai, please follow all is well as a theory, and trust me, it really works. Here I'm going to show you a small video of a girl, and she's an entrepreneur, the new age entrepreneur. Her name is Supriya Paul, right? And I don't know, maybe a couple of you might have seen this video. I'm sure this is very, very relevant, very, very connected to our own lives. Most of us would have gone through the similar journey during our student lives, and I'm sure most of our students who are currently studying at the college might be going through this. This is going to be very, very encouraging for those who have not seen this video. Let's have a look at this. Just tell me if it is audible. Dr. Kaushik, is it audible?
From where Dr.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to do this 2-minute activity. So like him, I believe in the power of stories. So I just want you guys to take 2 minutes, turn around, and interact with the person behind you. All you have to do is simply talk to them or the person next to you. Yeah. Simply talk to them about why you're here. What brought you on a Sunday afternoon to come and attend a TEDx event? Who you really are and what inspires you. Just 2 minutes, share your story with the person behind you. Okay guys, thank you so much. Before you fall in love with each other and decide to get married, I'm going to move on with my story. When I was growing up, I was very close to my grandparents. And it happens with all our grandmothers, our nannies and daddies, that at night, before you go to sleep, you listen to a story. My nanny used to tell me,
The voice went backwards.
I'll come back. This
Those
video.
stories influenced my life. Those are the stories that I could learn from, and they built my perception about who I am, who my family is, why are we here, what does my city look like, what does my country look like, and what do I owe it to the world. Then school started, and my trips to my grandparents' house reduced, and so the stories reduced. So the stories faded away. And what took them over was textbooks. So while I was in school, I started focusing on being a typical nerd. So instead of listening to stories or instead of talking to people, I would stick and restrict myself to only my textbooks. So I knew everything about climate change, I knew everything about global warming, but I didn't know about what was happening outside, or I didn't know about the people around me. In class 10, when you have to take a decision about what to do next in life, I was very confused. I did well academically, so my dad said, take up science with bio. I also had this childish dream of curing cancer and becoming a doctor, so I said, let's jump into it, let's do science. 1 week later, I realized that that wasn't for me. So then I came back home and I was upset, obviously, right? Because you've done well, you've always scored well, and then you realize that you're not good at something. How does that make you feel? So I went to my father and I said that I can't do this. He said, okay, drop bio, take eco, because then you can still become an engineer. So I dropped biology, I took up economics, and I started preparing for the FITGI entrance exam, like most of you here. 2 months into that, I realized that this wasn't for me either. So I go back home with a morbid face, and then I approach my dad. And I say that I can't do this. I won't be able to do it. So then my dad and mom are having intense discussions that she'll never be able to do anything in life. She's giving up. Iska kuch hoega hi nahi. And then they decide, okay, if you're not being able to do this, switch to commerce, because then you still have an option of being a chartered accountant. So I said, okay, this sounds fair. And you're this 17-year-old person, you really want to make your parents proud, right? Like, that's one goal that I think we all share. So I decided, okay, let's take commerce and I'm going to nail this. And I did. I did really, really well in class 11 and 12. I aced my board exams, got 96% and ended up doing BCom honors in Venkateshwara College in Delhi University. Now in my class of 240 people, 180 were doing CA along with BCom honors. The rest were studying for CAT because if not CA, then MBA is the only option that's left behind. So I started thinking, okay, should I be doing this because everybody else is doing it? My teacher said that, you're good at accounts, take this up. My parents said, if not this, kuch hoega hi nahi, you won't be able to do anything in life, so you need to do this. I started studying for my first CA exam. 10 days later, I realized that this wasn't for me either. And now I
decide to have this conversation with my parents again. By the way, my dad is a topper from SRCC, a qualified chartered accountant, running his business, a typical business family where the daughter either, takes on the family business or goes on to achieve something like really, really big in life. So all he did was look at my mom and she had said, "Tune bigada." So in the whole blame game, and I'm saying it very casually right now, but it was a very, very bad phase for me personally because being an achiever in school, always topping exams, doing well, I suddenly realized that I'm not good at anything. What's going on? I can't do science, I can't do bio, I can't do eco, I don't want to become an engineer, I can't do CA. What am I going to do in life? At this stage in life, I was very, very confused. I didn't know where I was headed next. I couldn't go back to my parents because I was ashamed of myself. So I started some introspection and I started watching videos again. Videos of people who had made it big in life. People like Steve Jobs, scientists, artists, people doing well in film, theater, and those became my mentors. I started learning from these stories. So the connection that I had with stories 16 years back, which my grandmother instilled in me, now suddenly came back. So I said, okay, so what really is the problem? Let me get to the bottom of this. I started talking to people in my college and I realized that those 180 people that were doing CA were not doing it because they liked it. They were not doing it because it was their passion. They were doing it because someone told them to. Whether it was a teacher, whether it was a parent, whether it was a friend, whether it was a career aptitude test taken back 5 years ago, which only gives you 3 options. But they were doing it because someone told them to. And it's not an easy mindset to change, right? Because job security, growth, money, high salaries, campus placements, it's alluring. You can't just give that up. So I said, how do I shift this mindset? How do I tell people to start believing in who they are and what they want to do and start chasing their passion? That's when I connected stories. So I organized a conference where I got people from different backgrounds, something similar. So whether it was a scientist, an artist, someone from theater, stand-up comedian, an entrepreneur, and I simply asked them to share their story. 300 people attended this conference, and much to my surprise, 3 months later, I kept getting mails from people. Mails from people from Shriram College of Commerce who had switched and decided to drop out of college and started companies. Mails from 2 people who had just met at the event and started something together. Mails from someone who had realized that software engineering is not my thing. I should take a gap year and get into the creative space. And people had started chasing their passion. As a generation, we talk about technology, we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about shaping the future, we talk about moving humankind forward. But what is dehumanizing is our education system. Our education system instills in us this stereotypical way of just thinking in one direction. Whether if you take science, you can be a doctor. If you don't do that, you can become an engineer, then you can become an accountant. But it doesn't teach us or it doesn't expose us to new things. So what I realized that in the generation that we belong, in the age group of 16 to 25, the problem is not education because I am well educated. I went to one of the best schools in India. I went to Shriram School. A lot of my friends were educated. Everybody in college was educated, but they lacked exposure. Exposure to the right kind of people, the right kind of ideas, the right kind of opportunities, the right kind of things. And that's where I started bridging the gap. I created this company called Josh Talks. Josh literally to instill the drive in you to become successful. And over the last 2 years, I've been doing conferences across the country. Yesterday was our 20th edition in Pune, and we've held such conferences in over 9 cities, covering both tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, where we call speakers from all sorts of backgrounds, whether it's a 23-year-old on a mission to end hunger in India, to the daughter of a sex worker who wants to become a drummer, to Anurag Kashyap who says that nobody owes you anything. We bring these stories to people like you and me to expose us to the possibilities of doing well. My goal in life is to revive the art of storytelling. Where we came from the caveman age, everybody used to weave stories. If you all remember, people used to sit around the bonfire at night and share things. And those are the things that decided who we would become. Those are the things that decided our future. They shaped how we thought about the world. But somehow, this art is getting lost. So the reason behind my talk and the reason behind doing this activity was for all of you to share your story so that something you take back from another person can change your life forever, like it did for me. Thank you.
So, I found something very, very interesting when I heard this video. I think when we come across a situation in our life when we're filled with a lot of thoughts, there's a lot of confusion, and I think we just one thing that we do a blunder is something wherein we just look forward for a quick solution. We just want to come out of this confusing stage as early as possible. My only humble request here would be, it is good to be in confusion, because the way the external world pushes you for doing something in life. Come on, you're 18, you're a graduate, you've completed your course, and I'm sure many students who are attending this session and who would be into the last year of the college, they would already be starting undergoing this kind of a pressure or an orientation that boss अब करना क्या है आगे, अभी अपना तो एक खत्म हो जाएगा, intern भी खत्म हो गया, what's next? I think this is the time when life really pushes you with a lot of confusion, and it's good because life wants you to give you a lot of options. Life wants to give you a lot of variety. The only suggestion that I like to give you here is, please be very, very involved within yourself. Before you take any decision, before you choose any path, please be 100% sure that what you are going to drive the rest of your life, are you really, really passionate about it? Do you really enjoy doing that? Is it something that nobody is going to push you for? If these three things, you are absolutely clear and you get an answer that yes, you got a yes for it, then only think of going about that particular stream or a project or any initiative that you take in your life. Another important thing is that once we have been able to create a vision around what we want to do in our life, right, and something again which is very, very important, because we just cannot execute things out of a dream. We need to be very, very clear about it, about our actions that we're going to take. And one thing which is really going to play an important role is the planning part. Because if you do not plan things, trust me, it is not going to be a proactive approach. You're just going to be reactive. And गलत कुछ नहीं है उसमें, पर जैसे मैंने कहा कि हम सबके पास समय बहुत लिमिटेड. अगर आप प्लान नहीं करेंगे तो भी गलती कुछ नहीं है. बस ये होगा कि शायद आप उसको करेंगे, फिर गिरेंगे, फिर उठेंगे, फिर गिरेंगे, फिर उठेंगे. अगर आप थोड़ा सा प्लान कर लेंगे तो गिरने की संभावना थोड़ी सी कम हो जाती है. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप नहीं गिरेंगे उसके बाद अगर आप प्लान करेंगे, गिर सकते हैं, लेकिन आपको उठने के शायद मेरे ख्याल काफी सारे तरीके पता होंगे, एक से ज्यादा पता होंगे. और अगर आप प्लान नहीं करेंगे तो जब गिरेंगे तो गिरने के बाद आप फिर प्लान करेंगे. बट इवेंचुअली यू हैव टू प्लान एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम इन योर लाइफ. So planning as a behavior is again very, very important in our life that we really need to inculcate, so that we ensure that time does not run out of our hand and we are actually able to hit the bullseye at the right time, at the right place. And trust me, if you see the journey of any entrepreneur in any field, they have not done something very, very out of the world. It's just pitching in at the right time and doing the right action. And how does it fall in place? It falls in place through planning. And hence planning really, really plays an important role. I'm sure you all are from the education institutes, and I'm sure you must have seen this. And this whole flow talks about the same thing, that you're able to plan, you can organize it well. And if you're able to plan and organize, then obviously you can lead. It'll be easy for you to make decisions. You can talk your vision, you can communicate it to people within your team, out to the outside world. And that's what which will keep you motivated, because now it is going to be the stage when you are actually starting influencing the world, And while I was interacting, somebody said that we really want to get motivated. Yes, that motivation is very, very intrinsic. It is within you. Nobody in this external world can give you that motivation. Trust me, it's my personal experience. When I started my journey, I was really very, very mad about achieving a lot of success in terms of earning high salary, about a higher designation, about going to whatnot competition and winning the prizes. And trust me, by God grace, I was able to do all of that. My growth in my organizations had been very, very good. I was able to do wonderfully well. I was able to get best of the best scores in my performance reviews. My compensations were really very good, and I have earned lot many certificates and medals in my life. My house is filled with that. But the honest answer is, do I cherish them? The answer is no. Then what do I cherish today? What is there with me which I cherish? What I cherish today is the experiences of people around me, the value that I could have been able to add to make them understand that how they can contribute to the people around, to the customers who are coming to the family restaurant, and the time when we are serving them and we are actually making them feel, wow. I don't know if you guys would have heard about it. McDonald's ran a campaign wherein they were just focused about turning out this tagline of "I'm loving it." They ran this campaign for about 10 years. Where they, I'm loving it. And trust me, that was our effort as a team with McDonald's, that whosoever consumer is coming, we really want to make their experience. And similarly at Haldiram's, when people are coming, we want to make sure that they're not only coming to us for Raj Kachoris and Chola Bhatura. They're coming to us for a wonderful experience. We make sure that when they're going out of our restaurants, they should actually go with the feel that, yes, this place has made my day. And that's a value addition that we make to people. Khana to hum sab ghar pe khate hain. Hum khana khane nahi jate hain bahar. We go out for an experience. I think that is something which motivates us. When people really see that you have added in value through your contribution in their life. And that is what which actually motivates you and allows you to go ahead with sustainable actions in your life. And how does that happen? That happens through involvement, right? Whatever you see around on the screen as other behaviors and what you see in the board here is get involved. Involvement is the key. And everything is in line, in sync. If you see, if you have a vision, you want to be passionate. If you're passionate, involvement is just an outcome. It will automatically happen. आज हम अपने घर में बच्चों को देखते हैं जिस चीज को वो बहुत ज्यादा एंजॉय करते हैं. For example, as small as a habit of taking a mobile and watching a video game. See their involvement. क्या आपको कभी कहना पड़ता है कि बेटा कभी तो मोबाइल हाथ में पकड़ लिया करो? No, you don't say. Why? Because that child is enjoying that experience. And he or she is absolutely involved in that experience. So involvement is not something that you can impose on somebody. But yes, if you are into an experience which you are really enjoying, involvement is automatically going to happen. And then everything, when you are so ecstatic about your experience in life with what you are doing, you are going to be a kind of person who's going to volunteer for it. You are going to be a yes man. When people are your wife is going to come, okay, I'm ready. Your daughter is going to come, yes, I'm ready. Your boss is going to come, yes, I'm there. You're going to be a volunteer for everything because you're so ecstatic within. And then you are going to do everything. You are going to be in love with everyone around. You want to help people. You want to create peace in people. And you want to donate whatnot, not only money. I mean, you would like to donate your time. You would like to interact with people. So involvement is again an outcome which is going to happen if you are on the journey of being an entrepreneur. And I think that any journey you go through, it has many stations, many steps to ride. This slide talks about the same thing, and the foundation is something which builds the rest of the building. And what you see here at the foundation of the building is keep learning. And trust me, if you keep learning throughout your life, if you carry an attitude of an ongoing student, many of us, as we grow, and because of the societal orientation, with whatever we get certified with, we get a lot of certifications. And when I was in 12th class, trust me, I thought that just an intermediate and hotel management pass out, I think is not something which is resonating with my kind of personality. I need to get a lot of credentials. And then I studied, I did graduation, I did post-graduation, I again did a post-graduation, and then I did MBA, and I did whatnot. And trust me, I got all these certificates and I realized that it was not needed. I'm not saying that it is useless. It is useful. No education is useless. Every education is useful for you. But it should not be stopped. It should not be halted कि भाई मैंने इतना courses कर लिया अब तो बस मुझे घर चलाना है. No, that should not. Learning should be constant. And then saying constant, not only that you're doing some professional courses, I mean, obviously they should be done depending upon your need, your aspiration, but from everyone, everywhere, each second, there is so much of learning. It all depends upon how observant we are about the learning. And if you are a learner, if you're a life learner, staying positive is something, an auto behavior, I would say, right? It will automatically happen because you're so positively engaged. You have something to contribute in any situation, in any role, in any character. And if you are able to do that, automatically you will be a person of action. You will not just be thinking around it, but you are going to convert your learnings into action, which will help you as an individual to know कि आप जब जीवन में आए, जो आपने जीवन से लिया, जो आपने जीवन से सीखा, उसको आपने अपने actions में convert किया, and you will be able to know yourself better as a person. Important thing is, जैसे हमने पहले स्लाइड में देखा था कि भाई हमें किसी को impress नहीं करना है, हमें सिर्फ अपने आप को impress करना है. How do you impress yourself? By checking each day that you are a better person each day. आप कल से बेहतर हैं. यही कंपटीशन अगर आप जीवन भर अपने साथ कैरी ऑन कर लेते हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि आपको किसी सेल्फ हेल्प इज द बेस्ट हेल्प. अगर आप वो कर पाते हैं तो उससे बढ़िया मदद आप कोई नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि जो व्यक्ति अपने आप के बारे में क्लियर है, जो अपनी मदद कर सकता है, जो ये जानता है कि मुझे लाइफ में रुकना नहीं है, आई एम गोइंग टू बी अ पर्सन ऑफ एक्शन टिल द लास्ट ब्रेथ ऑफ माय लाइफ, ट्रस्ट मी, that person is going to be loved by all. That person is going to be hunted by all. And then eventually you want to help people, because that will eventually become the motto and mission in your life. कि भाई, और ज्ञान भी एक ऐसी चीज है जिसको आप अपने तक रख नहीं सकते, वो भी आपको पुश करता है हमेशा जीवन में. और एक ऐसी स्टेज आ जाती है कि आपको, और हमारे हिंदुस्तान के कल्चर में, हमारी भारतीय परंपरा में गुरु शिष्य की जो परंपरा है, why was that there in place? इतनी शक्ति अर्जित करने के बाद गुरु हमेशा एक किसी डिजर्विंग शिष्य को क्यों ढूंढते थे? Because knowledge is also something which you cannot retain and keep and hold back with you. You have to give it back. तेरा तुझको अर्पण, क्या लागे मेरा. That is something, and that can only happen when you're helping people with what you have learned. And I think that all of us as an individual carry as a responsibility also for our generations to come.